Hi, here I am again. Susie, almost 70, telling about everything. So, okay, as I said now, this is really kind of piggybacking on my last episode, so you might want to watch that first. It's like the lead up to this one. So, I've been in that church in Andy Stanley's North Point Church, Alpharetta, Georgia, near Atlanta. Um, Maybe the most best church in the whole country. Anyway, I was going there at that time in my uh, at the time I'm talking about now, okay, in my early 60s. Um, I had been going there over 15 years. And one time in the sermon, now I can't quote word for word, but he said something like this. He said something like, okay, he says, if you're over 40 or 45, and if you've been coming to this church for 5 years or more, um, he might have said more, like whatever, but he said, you should consider being a mentor. And I thought, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's something I maybe should do. Because I was feeling like I needed to do more. I was like in a small group, but I had made friends in the church, and once in a while I volunteered for this or that, but I wasn't doing much, and I really felt like I wanted to do more. I wanted to do something important, um, something really good as a ministry. And so I thought, yeah, that might be what I need to do. So I applied to be a mentor, and I got an interview, like it was like a job interview. So it was Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, right? And they have their offices outside of the big church building. And I went, and there's this lady. She looks like she's 20 years old. She might have been 30, I don't know, but she looked like she was 20, talked like she was 20. Um, right there, that makes me uncomfortable, for someone that much younger interviewing me, and because I know they're coming from a whole different perspective. Um, so, she asked me questions, basically told me to tell her my story, right? Why I want to be a mentor, um, and tell me about my past, about my where I am spiritually, about my personal testimony and all that, right? And I talked to you last time about how I had just been through this course that told us how to tell our testimony and all that, right? Um, so I proceeded to tell her, which I've been telling you, um, all the way back since my childhood, right? But, of course, long story short, trying to condense it best as I can, just hitting on the important parts that might be relevant to becoming a mentor in the church. So, I'm talking and talking and talking and telling her, she's just listening, listening, listening. Every once in a while, I said, isn't my time up by now? And she said, no, 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 keep going. I want to hear it. I want to hear more. I want to hear everything. And I just kept on talking and talking and talking. I talked for 3 hours. I talked through the first Sunday morning, 9 o'clock I got there. I talked through the 9 o'clock service. I talked through the 10 o'clock break. I talked through the 11 o'clock service. I was talked from 9 to 12 o'clock, 3 hours. Never even got to go to church, and just telling my story. And I couldn't believe that she let me go on so long. It was like, that really was surprising to me that she needed to hear all that. Um, you'd think that she could get the gist of it in an hour, but at the end, she said, well, she wanted to know what would be what I thought would be my area of expertise, that I would be a good mentor um, in. So I told her that I thought the best thing that I could do for anybody that I had experience at, and I thought I could be really helpful, was to help um, young people with kids, um, single or young families, single parents or young families with kids, because I struggled so much at that time in my life. And if you want to hear about that, it's in my season 2. Um, but I could teach them how to budget. I could teach them how I could go to the store with them, grocery shopping, and teach them how to read labels and teach them, how to buy smart, get the most for their money. I could teach them how to cook healthy meals on a low budget. Um, I could give them tips about childcare because I had twins and a toddler. I had 3 babies at the same time, and I could, tell them how I managed and the household, my kids, all that kind of stuff, breastfeeding, um, you know, budgeting, and setting goals um, for the future. So I felt like I could be really good at that because I've been through it. And you know what she said to me? She said, "Oh, when I was done, she says, 'Oh, Susie,' she said, 'you've been through too much. You've been through way too much.' She said, 'I want to send you to counseling.'" Not what I wanted to hear at all. "And I want you to go through the mentor program," she says, "after you go to counseling first." So I just felt like, this young lady, she just doesn't get it. She doesn't know what I've been through. She's doubting my story and my faith. And I mean, that's my testimony, what God has seen me through all this and made me a strong woman. That's my testimony. And like she was just kind of, you know, not getting that or not believing it or something. Like, I still needed help. Anyway, through my story, if you've been watching, if you haven't, please do, told about all that. I have been through counseling, okay? I've been to a couple psychologists, a little bit here and there, a couple different times. When I was a single parent, struggling with my kids, a little bit of marriage counseling, very little, because the husbands weren't into it. Um, I had a major meltdown. Um, I was under psychiatric care for 2 years. Um, One of my very best friends at this time that I'm talking about, you know, from my social groups that I was hanging out with and all. But one of my very best friends, who I was told you about, George, PhD psychologist. He's a doctor of psychology. He was very close to me. He knew my story. Um, if I needed serious help, he would have told me. He would have said, "Susie, you need to go for counseling." He didn't counsel me because that's unethical for them to do, right? He didn't counsel me, but he heard a lot of stuff. He knew me very well, and he would have told me if I needed help. Um, so I was like, whatever. She said, "We want to send you to counseling," and they were going to pay for it. So I thought, well, I didn't feel like I needed counseling. In fact, I felt like I was in a very good place to do this, to be a mentor, because it's what I really felt like God was leading me into it. I felt like it. It was a good time for me. I was not having sex. I was not smoking weed. Um, both of those were out of my life for a while. Um, so, I didn't feel like there was anything holding me back from doing this. and I felt like I could give it a good piece of my time and all that. But they said they would pay for me to go to counseling. She said, that the church would pay for me to go to counseling. I got to say, I did support the church. I did, I did give regularly. North Point Church doesn't even believe in membership. They don't even have members. It's not like, oh, you got to give money. If you don't give money, they don't beat you up for money, but I believe that, we're supposed to give as we are able or more. And I did that. And anyway, North Point, they get like more, they have millions of dollars donated every year. Uh, some very generous people. In fact, I think it might be the biggest, most generous church I think it might be the most generous church in the whole country, because they gave a lot. I mean, the things we did with the money we gave away to, we didn't have our own charities because we would give to those charities that were already, um, you know, already there. Instead of trying to duplicate things, we supported the charities that were already established that were doing good things all over the world, and we did so much. Um, you know, generous people. Anyway, I didn't feel guilty for taking their money, right? If they feel like, if the church wants to send me to counseling, I'll go to counseling, Um, so she said, she gave me a list I could pick from, some Christian counselors, and, and you know what? Well, anyway, so she said, we'll pay for 10 sessions for you to go. Okay, so I picked out a lady who and started going, right? And uh, I want to say Christian counselors do not pray with you, because I've been to a couple of them. They don't pray with you, and they don't, I mean, most the ones that I went to didn't, and they really don't even act like, I mean, they're no different than other counselors. The only thing is that they are a Christian, like they go to church, or they're, they call themselves Christian, but it's not like they're, preaching at you or telling you, the Bible says you got to do this and Jesus says you got to do that. It's not like that. They just happen to belong to a church, so they call themselves Christian counselors. They're really just like any other counselors. I didn't see any difference. Even the psychiatrist I went for 2 years, he was Jewish, and I didn't see any difference in any of them. They all mostly listen, and they try to get you to think for yourself. Uh, and they usually give you a little bit of homework. Think about this, read this, try this kind of thing. Um, anyway, so I went, and this lady, she was around my age, and it was crazy. It was silly. It was like really a waste of time for me. Um, she just wanted to hear about my life, what I'm doing. I told her, about what I was doing, which was Celebrate Atlanta and this Christian singles group. I was doing a lot of dating, dancing, partying, all this stuff, trying to get deeper into volunteering for church. And she just was so amazed and loved my life. It was like, she was like, I got to tell my other patients, or whatever they call them, clients, whatever. I got to tell them about this. I got to tell them. She thought the Celebrate Atlanta group that I was in was like the best thing she ever heard of. She was like, every week when I went, she was asking me, so what did you do on the weekend? Tell me about your week. And we would just sit together and chat like girlfriends. She was close to my age. It was just like sitting with a girlfriend talking. She never gave me any advice, never told me, think about this, do this, try this. Nothing. She was just wanting to hear what I had to say. It was almost like I was counseling her. It was so crazy. And she kept saying, that was the best thing she ever heard of was Celebrate Atlanta and what I was doing and how I was living my life and everything. And just totally like 100% like a fan or something. It was crazy. And one of the I felt like I was in a great good place in my life. You know, the only thing I could ask for help was that I have this problem sleeping, right? Where I just don't sleep well. And I would wake up every hour. It's like I have these dreams about work, and I wake up and I have to go to the bathroom. I can't go back to sleep, da da da. It's like, I have this horrible stuff going on every night. And that I she told me I should go to Waffle House. I said, I said, I couldn't believe she said that. It's like, so you're telling me, like, when I can't sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, I should get up, get dressed, and go out to Waffle House? And she said, yeah, it's always open and there's always people there that you could talk to so you don't have to feel alone. I'm like, so I should go talk to strangers at Waffle House at 2 a.m. Really? That sounds like great advice. It was weird. Anyway, I never said anything. I didn't give feedback to the church. I just didn't feel like bothering. Maybe I should have, but I didn't bother with it. I just thought, I felt like that church should not have that young lady in charge of the mentorship program. But the people they want to mentor are mostly young people, so maybe she was the right person. Maybe I was the wrong person, you know? Also, um, there in Alpharetta, there was, I wanted to help people when I was at that stage of life where I was talking about that I thought I could be a big help to young people that are struggling with their young families, right? Um, I felt like, you know what, those people are not here in Alpharetta. Um, Alpharetta, Georgia is very affluent. Everybody has a great job. Everybody has this big, beautiful house and big, beautiful yard and big, beautiful car and everything nice, nice. And I guess there was not much need for my services in that area. And if I would have went to inner city, I could have stayed busy, but I didn't really feel like driving down there and having to drive back and forth, an hour or more to go into Atlanta and into maybe a bad neighborhood and, the traffic and, it would just be a lot more difficult for me. Those are the people that I could have helped. But I guess it wasn't my time or right for me, even though I thought it was. Um, so I guess that's all I'm going to talk about for now because it's a little hard to jump into something else after that, for me anyway. So thanks for watching, and next time I'm going to talk more about my men friends in this group. Okay? More just fun stuff next time. Okay. God bless.